Good morning, everyone. How do we change the hardness of a heart without messing with free will, without trying to control the person? How do we change a heart without trying to control? We'll answer that question in just a moment. Let's do a brief review with regards to Holy Week. On Holy Thursday, we had the institution of the Eucharist and also the institution of the priesthood, the ministerial priesthood. Now, all of us, all of the baptized, are part of the common priesthood, and so we take our prayers, our works, our joys, and our sufferings of the day, of the week, and essentially ourselves, and we join them with Christ in the sacrifice, and there's the symbol, but the reality becomes present right here during the Mass. So Christ is truly present with us, and we join in His sacrifice. So our prayers, our works, our joys, and our sufferings become redemptive. They join that redemptive and saving act. So this happens or it was instituted at Holy Thursday. Also instituted during Holy Thursday was servant leadership. Servant leadership. In other words, the God of the universe washes the feet of His followers. And so it's very clear to each one of us then that any authority that you have been given, any authority that you have been given to use it in service, to serve another person or to serve others. Holy Thursday. Good Friday, we were reminded that God will give us the strength to bear, but we have to embrace. So in other words, any cross that we have, it's not God giving us the cross, and it's important to start there. Oh yeah, I believe that you need this cross, and you can tolerate that one, and I'll give you this cross, and you that one, and God's not up there giving us crosses. Okay, sin and death entered the world through humanity. So humanity gave itself the cross. But Christ took it upon Himself. He pursued each and every one of us when He took up His cross and He laid down His life for us. So God will give us the strength to bear our crosses. Think of the cross. Think of one of the crosses that you have. All of us have. First of all, you shouldn't think, well, I have a heavier cross than most people. Okay? We do ourselves a great disservice when we start thinking of it like that way. We don't know what's going inside the mind and the heart of another person. Worry about ourselves. But the reality is all of us have crosses. And God will give us the strength to bear those crosses. However, just like He says in the gospel in a number of places, if you want to follow me, you have to take up your cross. You have to make the decision to embrace it. I'd like to snap my fingers and have this cross go away. Well, wish in this hand, okay, sincerely. We have to face the fact that we have to embrace the cross and carry it. When we do that, He will provide the strength to do so. Good Friday. Then we celebrated Easter Sunday. We were reminded that there is more to life than this world. We just did that here at the sprinkling rite. There is more to life than this world, and that what we do in this life will matter in the next. The resurrection changes everything. Do you believe in the resurrection? Okay. So I told you that story about Blondin. He would often walk a tightrope in different places, but most famously in Niagara Falls. And he did it in a number of different ways, but one of the ways is he had a wheelbarrow. He wheeled it over, he wheeled it back, and he said, I'm going to do it again, but this time somebody's going to be in the wheelbarrow. Do you believe I can do this? The whole crowd, 1,000 people. Do you believe? We believe. Which one of you will be that human being? And it all went silent. And out of 1,000 of people that said, we believe, one person actually stepped forward. And it's very simple. So, I could ask you, if you believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ, say, we believe. Do you believe? We believe. Okay. So we all say it. Good. Well, when the Lord comes to you through your conscience, through an understanding, through a need that you clearly see, and He impels you to step forward, that's when we believe becomes real. The resurrection changes everything. What we do now is going to matter in eternity. What we do in life will echo in eternity. We come to today and we ask the question, well, how do you change the hardness of a heart? Without forcing it upon them. Let's face it, we can try and control somebody, but that's not changing a heart. How do you change the hardness of a heart? Okay. We're celebrating Divine Mercy Sunday. There are a number of things here we'll comment. The gospel that we heard from, same gospel every cycle. Cycle A, cycle B, cycle C. We're in cycle B, doesn't matter. It's the same reading, the second Sunday of Easter. The church is saying something very clear there. This is extremely important. And what is it? We celebrate Divine Mercy fundamentally because this is the scripture where Jesus clearly gives the power to the apostles to forgive sins in the sacrament of reconciliation and penance. He knew that we're not perfect, that in baptism we've experienced the full embrace of God, given faith, hope, and charity, but there will be times in our lives that we fall short. And so that we know that we can come and make ourselves transparent before the Lord and receive His forgiveness. Now, 18 years ago, Pope John Paul II also honored Sister Faustina, who saw visions of Jesus and talked about God's divine mercy. And this image that she had, white and red, kind of coming almost like right out from His heart. The white symbolizing water and the waters of baptism, the red symbolizing His body, blood, soul, and divinity, His gift of His very self in the Eucharist. So we can actually all of us here could get a plenary indulgence. That is to say, it removes all temporal punishment, the effects of our sin. Okay? And we can do that by venerating the image. We are actually having a ceremony like that, or a celebration of that, over at Sacred Heart of Mary at 2, from 2 to 4. Confessions will be available at that time, and then we'll go ahead and we'll pray for the Holy Father, and we'll venerate the image of Divine Mercy. Okay? So the other elements of the plenary indulgence are also in effect. We have to go to confession within 20 days. We have to receive communion on that day, that is today, in a good state of moral character. And then we also have to pray for the Holy Father. And finally, be free from all attachment to sin, including venial. All right. So, but that opportunity is there for us. Divine Mercy Sunday. But let's get back to the question, because it's an important one. How do we change a heart without controlling it? This is it. This is where wisdom and divine love meet. It's tempering justice with mercy. Think of somebody who has hurt you or your family. The fact is that if they really and truly have hurt someone that you loved, you want justice. And I mean not just a little bit of it. I mean you want the full measure. Don't just make it something pretend. Take a moment, think of someone who has hurt you or somebody that you love. It's natural. It's something within us. We want full justice. The problem with that is that we are not perfect. And the problem is that maybe we haven't hurt somebody the way this someone else has hurt us or a loved one, but we have still hurt another. We do not want full justice taken upon us. See, that's ultimately what Christ did when he died on the cross. Full justice, none of us would have been afforded any grace. But it's justice tempered with mercy. Okay? Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm not saying ignore justice. I'm not saying tolerate abuse. I'm not saying you have to be the person's best friend. What I am saying is that if you want to change the hardness of a heart, then you temper justice with mercy. Anyone seen the movie The Scarlet and the Black by any chance? Scarlet and the Black, raise your hand. Anyone? No? No one? It's a good movie. I'm going to ruin it for you anyway, so if you haven't seen it. It's set in World War II, and what is happening here is that you have a priest, Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty, who works at the Vatican, and you have Colonel Kapler, who is in charge of the Gestapo, who is now occupying Rome. Hugh O'Flaherty is working in conjunction with Pope Pius XII, and he is saving thousands and thousands of lives quietly. Now, a lot of history would be hard on Pope Pius XII, and I want you to know that the rabbi of Rome converted to Catholicism after World War II, and he did so because he knew how much Pope Pius XII was doing for the Jews. And not only the Jews, but anybody who came to the Vatican for safety. So very important that we understand the fullness of history. But that's the crux of the movie, is the back and forth between Colonel Kapler and Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty, and how O'Flaherty continues to outsmart him to save these people. Well, at the end of the movie, the Allied forces have pushed in, and now they are pushing out the Nazis. And in fact, Kapler knows that he's safe. He'll get captured. There's no way that he can get out. He's a high-ranking officer. They will not kill him. But depending on the mob and who gets to everybody first, his family might be killed. And so we see at the end, it's a private meeting in the shadows of night at the very base of the Colosseum between two people. Kapler has called O'Flaherty, and so now the conversation ensues. Keep your history lesson, priest. You crawl to your pope and obey his orders just as I obey mine. You compare obedience to Hitler with the faith a priest owes his church? You think that's the same? In the name of God. And he turns to walk away. Wait, I know about you. I've been talking to people about you and your church. I know all about you. Well, what is it that you want from me, Kapler? They say that you can't pass a beggar or a lame dog, but that you see yourself with some obligation to look after anybody in trouble. You help British and American, Jews and Arabs, refugees, anybody. It's part of your faith. Is that right? Well, I wouldn't deny it. That's why I became a priest. Brotherly love and forgiveness. That's the other half of what you believe. True? True. Well, I'm glad because of it. I have 3 more for your mercy wagon. My wife and 2 children. If the partisans get them, they'll be killed. I want them out of Rome and safe. And that's what I want from you, priest. You're asking me to save your family. If you really believe what you preach, you'll do it. You expect me to help you after all that you've done. You think you can demand forgiveness. You think it comes automatically just because you want it. I'm not talking about myself. You turned this city into a concentration camp. You tortured and butchered my friends. You violated every principle of God and man. I can't believe it. After all this, you want mercy. I told you it's for my family. They're just part of you, part of what you stand for. They've taken whatever they can get without a thought of the suffering of all around them. And now, you demand that they be saved. Well, I'll see you in hell first. And he walks away. And as he's walking away, Kapler yells back to him, "No, there's no difference from anyone else. All your talk means nothing. Charity, forgiveness, mercy, it's all lies. You hear me? Lies. Don't talk to me about God and humanity. I know what humanity is. It's one half with the power and the will to use it, and the other half only cattle to be led. There's no God. There's no humanity. You hear me? Priest?" The next scene is Kapler being interrogated. This is only the first inquiry into activities of the head of the Gestapo in Rome. Do you deny the systematic use of torture on suspects? Only the acceptable interrogation methods were used. That is not our information. I only did my duty. Tell us about the pipeline. Come on now, Colonel. It's quite obvious that after your forces retreated, you were ordered to set up a secret line of communication. Colonel Kapler, we know all about your wife and your children. Mina, isn't it? Franz, Liesel. What do you know about them? What has happened to them? Oh, now you're playing games, Colonel. Your wife and your children disappeared from Rome. They were smuggled into Switzerland, as you well know, safe and sound. Now, how was it done? Who helped them? That takes some organization. Now, if you tell us how it was done and who helped them, it might do you some good at your trial. I do not know. Come on, Colonel. Tell us who it was. And with a clear understanding in his eyes, as he stares, with a flat affect, yet just a curve in his mouth, the slightest of smile, he says, I do not know. At the end of the movie, there's a scroll, and it reads, Herbert Kapler was sentenced to life imprisonment for war crimes. In the long years that followed in his Italian prison, Kapler had only one visitor. Every month, year in and year out, O'Flaherty came to see him. In 1959, the former head of the dreaded Gestapo in Rome was baptized into the Catholic faith at the hand of the Irish priest. Temper justice with mercy. Even the head of the Nazis in Rome, who had absolute disregard for any human being other than themselves. And then O'Flaherty, who had his very good friends, including a priest friend, who was captured and tortured at the hands of Kapler. Any heart can be changed. How does it change? It changes when we seek justice, but in seeking justice, we temper it with mercy.